I mean, wow, our own Rory, Liza, and Violet blessing us with their talents today. Can we give them one more round of applause, please? Good morning. Welcome to the Greenville Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. My name is Kat Stellern, and I am fortunate to serve this congregation as the president-elect. Whether you've been with us on Sundays for a long time or are visiting for the first time today, we welcome you to our service. This congregation is a theologically diverse religious community with participation open to all who agree to live into our principles, mission, and values. We are a welcoming congregation to people of all sexual orientations and gender identities, races, ethnicities, and abilities, and we unconditionally welcome you as your full, authentic self. We welcome you to our community of caring and commitment to grow as spiritual and moral beings. Our congregational mission is to strengthen our connections to one another and our planet by enlivening minds and spirits, building community through liberating love, and advocating fiercely for justice. It is custom in this congregation to acknowledge visitors and newcomers. If it's your first time or first-ish time here, would you mind raising your hand so that we can acknowledge you? Thank you so much for joining us this morning. All are invited to join us after the service just out in the narthex. This morning's going to be a little different. Normally we have coffee hour, but we're going to be in the narthex area with water and snacks. New and newish folks are welcome to grab a green mug so we can easily spot you and speak to you during our gathering hour. You're also welcome to fill out one of the green cards that can be found in the back of the pews so that we can keep in touch. Simply drop the card in the offering basket or in the box at the welcome table in the foyer. Please know that whatever your religious history, whatever your personal theology, all people of goodwill are welcome here. Your presence makes us better. Your presence makes us whole. I do have one announcement before our service begins. You may have seen it on the slides before. We are having our annual congregational meeting right here in the sanctuary just after service. So after the service ends, if you need to make a potty break, grab some of that water and snacks in the narthex, do so, but then please come back and join us. We have to have a quorum in order to do our business. Friends of the fellowship and guests are definitely welcome. We would love for you to participate in our governance process and observe, but just please remember only members are able to vote. Our service will now begin.
Good morning. Our chalice lighting words are adapted from words by Adam Slate. We gather this morning as one community, a community united by common ideals, love, justice, diversity, freedom, mutual care, equity. Yet, look around. Look at the faces of those around you. Each one of us is an individual. Every one of us has our own story, needs, strengths, and faults. We light our chalice today, honoring our common connection and also the uniqueness that lives within each of us.
Good morning, GUUF. I'm the Reverend Chris Hockman. So happy to be here and seeing your smiling faces on this rather dreary morning. Our call to worship this morning, I don't know who it's from, actually, but I'm going to read it anyway. You are beloved, and you are welcome here. Whether tears have fallen from your eyes this past week, or gleeful laughter has spilled out of your smiling mouth, you are beloved and welcome here. Whether you are feeling brave or brokenhearted, defiant or defeated, fearsome or fearful, you are beloved and you are welcome here. Whether you have untold stories buried deep inside, or stories that have been forced beyond the edges of comfort, you are beloved and you are welcome here. Whether you have made promises, broken promises, or are renewing your promises, you are beloved and welcome here. Whatever is on your heart, however it is with your soul in this moment, you are beloved and you are welcome here. In this space of welcome and acceptance, commitment and recommitment of covenant and connection. Come, let us worship together. For our opening hymn, we are going to do the thing that strikes fear in the heart of many a congregant. Meredy Harper is going to lead you all singing Come, Come, Whoever You Are in a round. Are you ready? Okay, no, you can do it. Please rise in body or spirit.
Okay. I have recruited some colleagues. This will be section 1. The first half of this side of the church is section 1. The first half over here is section 2. Then when we get to number 3, it'll be this side over here, number 4, the back side of this over here. And just follow your leaders that are in front of your sections. Tell you what, Marshall, I was going to lead number 1, but how about you do it? Okay. So we'll sing it straight through first, after we hear Sharon. After we hear Sharon play it through one time, we'll just sing it through once, and then we'll divide up. Section 1.
Good morning. I'm David Funderburk. I'm the Director of Religious Education here at GUUF. And one note about today, usually we ask when our kids go to RE classes, we ask that you let the class go until 12:15 and not interrupt the class to pick up your kids. But today, because of the congregational meeting, you're welcome to go get your kid from Spirit Play class as soon as the service is over. And the teachers will be ready for that. So if you're picking up a K through third grade kid, they'll be all in the room at the end of the hallway on the right. And if they're fourth grade and above, they'll be downstairs, but they'll just send them upstairs to meet you in the narthex after their class is over. So I want to welcome any children or youth or anyone of any age who would like to come up close to hear the story, to sit on the floor at the base of the steps or in the front pews. All right. So our theme for the month is pluralism. Does anyone know what that means? Do you remember from last week? Being a plural word. What does plural mean? Multiple. So there's more than one. So one thing that Unitarian Universalists like to say is that we don't need to think alike to love alike. We don't all need to believe the same things to be in community together. There are many different paths that we can follow as individuals and still be in one community together. So the book I have for you today is related to this idea, but it's about how you also don't need to eat alike to love alike. It's called The Sandwich Swap by Her Majesty Queen Rania Al Abdullah with Kelly DiPuccio and illustrated by Tricia Tusa. So you may notice the author of this book is an actual queen. She's the queen of the country of Jordan, where they still have a king and a queen. It all began with a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And it ended with a hummus sandwich. Salma and Lily were best friends at school. They drew pictures together. They played on the swings together. They jumped rope together. And they ate their lunches together. But just what they ate was a little different. Lily ate a peanut butter and jelly sandwich every day for lunch. Salma ate a hummus and pita sandwich every day for lunch. And although Lily never said it out loud, she thought Salma's sandwich looked weird and yummy. She felt terrible that her friend had to eat that icky chickpea paste every day. Ew, yuck. And although Salma never said it out loud, she thought Lily's sandwich looked strange and gross. She felt just awful that her friend had to eat that gooey peanut paste every day. Ew, gross. Then, one day, Lily just couldn't hold back those pesky thoughts any longer. "Your sandwich looks kind of yucky," she blurted out. "What did you say?" Salma asked, thinking she must have misunderstood her friend. "I said your sandwich looks yucky." Salma frowned. She looked down at the thin, soft bread, and she thought of her beautiful, smiling mother as she carefully cut Salma's sandwich into 2 neat halves that morning. Her hurt feelings turned mad. Yeah, well, your sandwich looks gross, and it smells bad too, Salma snapped back. Lily looked surprised. She sniffed the thick, squishy bread, and she thought of her dad in his silly apron, whistling as he cut Lily's sandwich into 2 perfect triangles that morning. Lily scowled. It does not smell bad. Does too. Ew, yuck. Ew, gross. That afternoon, the friends did not draw pictures together. They did not swing together. They did not jump rope together either. The next day, Salma ate her lunch at one table and Lily ate her lunch at another. Meanwhile, the peanut butter versus hummus story had spread, and everyone began choosing sides. Each side had something not so nice to say about the other. Peanut butter breath, jelly heads, garlic breath, chickpea brains. Pretty soon, the rude insults had nothing at all to do with peanut butter or hummus. You're weird. You're stupid. You look funny. You dress. And then it happened. Somebody yelled. Food fight! Peanut butter and hummus sandwich and other lunch favorites began flying back and forth between both sides of the lunchroom. They stuck to the walls, they stuck to the ceiling, they stuck to the lunch lady. When the sandwiches were all gone, pudding cups and applesauce and carrot sticks took flight. Salma and Lily looked at one another from across the rowdy, splattered room. They both felt ashamed by what they saw. They both felt really ashamed when the principal called them into her office after they had helped clean up the mess. The following day, Salma set her lunch down across from Lily's. The 2 girls nibbled on their sandwiches in silence. Finally, Lily got up the courage to speak. Would you like to try a bite of my peanut butter and jelly? Salma grinned. Sure, why not? Would you like to try my hummus and pita? Lily laughed. I'd like that. On the count of 3. Okay, on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Yummy. Hey, this is delicious. And this is heavenly. The girls giggled and hugged and traded sandwiches. After lunch, Salma and Lily met with the principal again. This time, they were there to suggest a very special event for the whole school. And that's how it all began, with a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and ended with a hummus and pita sandwich. And now they all get to share all of their differences together. So thank you for listening to the story today. Please come with me. We'll walk slowly down the middle aisle, and you can come to your class today.
Unitarian Universalism is a grand vision of a world filled with peace and justice, love, and joy. That vision is embodied in its congregations, and every congregation depends on each of its members and friends through their commitment of time, energy, and resources to make that grand vision real. Individually and collectively, we are Unitarian Universalists building a world filled with peace and justice, love and joy. The offering will now be given and gratefully received. That was great. It is our custom in this fellowship to share the joys and the sorrows that shape our lives, honoring each one with the lighting of a candle. We recognize that life is not always easy and that we all have moments of celebration and struggle. We believe that by sharing these experiences with one another, we can celebrate with, support, and uplift each other as we navigate the significant events of our lives. And we have quite a few today. Ward Hammond says, "We have a grandson. Fordham Wardlaw Hammond was born on May 13th at 12:43 p.m., 8 pounds, 5 ounces. He adds to a long list of Hammonds born on the 13th and carries on the Wardlaw name, Wardlaw Invermere. And this one from Kathy Zellman. We recently started attending UU services. My daughter, Ariana Chapman, is doing great after her cochlear implant surgery. We are also overjoyed about my adoption of Ariana and her brother, Aiden. And we celebrate my retirement after 40-plus years as an automotive engineer. Kathy Zellman. Yeah. Lots of joys in their family. And from Ken Flanagan, good vibes and well wishes for Jack Taylor. Jack, who has been fighting bladder cancer, will undergo a robotic-assisted surgery to remove the bladder this week at St. Francis Hospital in Greenville. Please keep Jack in your thoughts and hope for speedy and successful recovery. Cards are welcome, and the address is written on this sheet, which I will put back in the book. You can look it up at the end of the service if you would like to write. That was from Ken Flanagan. The next one is from Mary Concern. My daughter, Farah, has been diagnosed with 3 diseases following a tick bite, asking for healing energy. And this one from Jackie. My 8-month-old great-granddaughter has surgery on Wednesday. She will be in the hospital 5 to 8 days. Please think of her and send healing thoughts. Her name is Lila. Sabrina Walker says, Mary Stone's brother died on Friday afternoon in a single-person light airplane crash. She is with his widow in Alexandria, Virginia. In Mary's words, this is a total shock, and we were totally unprepared to deal with his death. He was only 66. Mary does not have a return to Greenville date yet. Please keep Mary in your thoughts. Muriel Hill Rowley writes, wishes as I have surgery again on my ankle tomorrow. And from Carol and Walter Lavash, mission accomplished. After 4 years, our memoirs called Second Chances, Our Dance Through Life will soon be published. Yay. And from Laura Christenberry, kudos to our wonderful young musicians. I admire your being able to perform to a crowd. Yes. Yes. I think many of us second that emotion. And finally, from Justin Mosley, send positive thoughts to my friend Langdon Plaster, who has been recovering from an illness and amputation of his right foot and shin since April 6th. His journey continues at the Stanleytown Rehab Center, where he is improving every day. And now we will light a final candle, representing all the joys and sorrows that are present in our hearts that remain unspoken. We'll now observe a brief moment of silence before the words for meditation.
Words from the late Reverend Nancy Schaffer. Because she wanted everyone to feel included in her prayer, She said right at the beginning several names for the holy. Spirit, she said, Holy One, Mystery, God. But then, thinking these weren't enough ways of addressing that which cannot fully be addressed, she added particularities, saying, Spirit of life, Spirit of love, ancient Holy One, mystery we will never fully know, womb, witness, great kindness, great eagle, eternal stillness. And then there wasn't any need to say the things she'd thought would be important to say. And everyone sat hushed until someone said, Amen.
Good morning, GUUF. My name's Lynn Bell. I'm the Volunteer Involvement Coordinator here at the Fellowship, along with committee member Carrie Morris. Carrie, wave. Yay, for sure. It's our pleasure this morning to recognize all the volunteers here at the Fellowship. As I like to point out, we have a staff of just 5, but our programs are numerous and diverse and fulfilling. And that's because so many of you volunteer to lead groups or committees, to be members of committees, and to participate in all that happens here at the Fellowship. This morning we want to honor, express our heartfelt appreciation, and publicly recognize all those who give their time and their talents to make GUUF go. Rev. Chris and I plan for this recognition to be briefish, so as I mentioned, individuals and committees, please stay seated and wildly wave your hands. So stay seated and then just go, whoa, I'm here. And then at the end, applause can follow for all. First, I'd like to recognize our Board of Trustees, President Lynn, past President Richard Nelson, he's up in the sky, President-elect Kat Stellern, CFO Clark Bell, Secretary Garnet Conaway, and Trustees Peggy Baker, Gabriel Kraft, Patricia Carson, and soon-to-be transitioning Sean Trapp. Yeah, there he is. This spring, as they end their terms, we'd especially like to thank Richard Nelson and Clark Bell for their terms on the board. Wave, everybody. Thank you. Recognizing the Finance Committee, led by Clark Bell. The Finance Committee members, put your hands up. Let us recognize you. Likewise, the Endowment Committee is led by Scott Stellern. Committee, if you're here, raise your hands. Good. Recognizing the steadfast work of the Leadership Development Committee, who created the slate of new officers and chairpersons that we'll vote on at the annual meeting. Let us recognize who you are, LDC. Thank you. Thanking the Shared Ministry Committee, whose work includes their recent survey on the state of the congregation. Raise your hands. Very good. Now I'd like to begin recognizing the following 10 tireless committees of our Program Council, which help keep GUUF humming day to day and is led by President-elect Kat Stellern. Thanks to the Sunday Services Committee, led by Ward Hammond. If you are a worship associate, a service welcomer, a greeter, an usher, if you bring flowers, or are helping us to learn the Breeze Church software that allows us to sign up for these functions. Yeah, right. Please wave your hands wildly. Where's Laura? Hi, Laura, thank you. Dear to our hearts, we acknowledge our Social Justice Committee led by Pat Cheney. If you lead or help at Roland McFerrin House, with Greenville Organized for Accountable Leadership, write You the Vote postcards, help with highway cleanup, contribute to food, not bombs, work with Habitat, wave your arms. Oh, look at what an expression of social justice in our congregation. Thanks to the Building and Grounds Group, led by Lori Morton. If you lead or help, thank you, Lori, with work to keep our campus maintained, wave your arms. Recognizing the Membership Committee, led by Paula Massey, and those who welcome guests each Sunday and welcome Starting Point class participants and new GUUF members. Show us who you are. Thank you. The Hospitality Committee is led by Debbie Plonke, Ernie Glenn, and Coffee Cruise by Carol Henson. Wave your arms if you help with coffee service or potlucks. What would we do without you guys? What would our tummies do without you? Thank you. Thank you, Communications Committee, led by Jennifer Kiyumjian. If you are one of the valued tech persons who maintain our website, paper publications, marketing, social media presence like Facebook, and private Facebook groups like Ableism, please wave your hands. Thank you. Acknowledging the folks who make our auction happen and are led by Mary D. Harper. Show us who you are. I think the auction events are still going on. It's wonderful. Thank you, Safety Committee, led by Kathy Jaggers, for keeping us safe in our building and on campus. Best wishes in your move, Kathy. And everyone else, give us a wave. Thanks. Thank you, Furniture, Fixtures, and Aesthetics Committee, co-led by Stephen Chapp and Carolyn Kelly West, who contribute to the beauty in our building. Last week, we recognized RE program volunteers, and thanks Amber Gallia for leading that committee. She's teaching a class, thanks. Thanks, Amber. That concludes our program council committees, but I hope that's not my fault. Yeah. I'm not done. All that concluded the program council committees, but that's not all. Several weeks ago, our service focused on pastoral care at GUUF. Thank you, Mary Margaret Dragoon, for your leadership with pastoral care and the many dear people who help make our caring congregation. Wave to us all, you pastoral, another wonderful group. Recognizing Covenant Circles, led by Denise Frick and Jim Hennigan. Best wishes on your move, Jim. And recognizing Covenant Circle leaders and the role they play in deepening our relationships and personal growth. Let us know who you are. Thank you. Thank you, Thrift Store leaders, Linda Turner and Donna Gothi, and the Thursday and Saturday morning regular crews who enable us to reuse, recycle, repurpose the treasures we give and the treasures we find. A special nod to Donna, who will be saying goodbye soon. Donna, I hope you're watching on the video. Oh, there she is. Yay, Donna. Recognizing Sheila Garrick, who leads the meditation group. Recognizing the leaders and members of the humanist group. Recognizing the welcoming congregation committee and the programs, performances, and experience they've facilitated in the past year to support LGBTQIA members and friends. Wave all of you that are here. Thank you. And then there are the guys who make movie night happen. Thank you, Dave Wilder and Al Klein. Yay, thank you. We have one very special and important thank you to some indispensable people who we kind of take for granted. On the screen, in a moment. Yeah, there they are. That was the Richards, Richard Nelson, Richard Fuller, and Daniel Tower, who make our technical sound, video, and hybrid service possible. Thank you, guys, for all your behind-the-scenes work. So I'm sure that I've forgotten to name someone or some activity that enriches the fellowship, so please forgive me, but feel appreciated. Volunteering is fun. It's fellowship, collaboration, and the satisfaction of knowing we've added to the whole. The more of us who are involved, the less there is for any few people to do. If you're inspired to join the energy, please talk to me or Carrie anytime. Now look around you at all the folks that have been waving their arms about. We can see it takes this many of us to make GUUF go, and that's pretty impressive. At this time, let's all applaud, all of us, for all we do to make Greenville Unitarian Universalist Fellowship flourish. Carrie and I will be standing at the back of the sanctuary as you leave with a pen for you. It's a symbol of our thanks. Keep it wherever, in your car, your purse, your pocket, and use it to write down notes of things you'll do at GUUF or other places in your life. But whenever you see it, we hope that you will feel appreciated and be reminded of your home at the fellowship. Thanks. Thank you all.
I think we can also, I don't think we've done this already, but we can recognize Lynn Bell, our volunteer coordinator for the past 4 years. All right. Well, moving on from all of this people power of volunteering, I think we're going to be shifting on to the people power of pluralism. That's the best segue I could come up with in this situation. So, today, I'm pleased to report that we are covering our last petal from the new proposed Article 2, which is the new rearticulation of Unitarian Universalism that the congregation will be voting on today in the meeting. Our last but not least petal is the UU value of pluralism. There it is. And it's the one at the very bottom, so I'm probably standing right in front of it. Can you see pluralism? Okay, good, good. So here is what the proposed Article 2 has to say about pluralism. We celebrate that we are all sacred beings, diverse in culture, experience, and theology. We covenant to learn from one another in our free and responsible search for truth and meaning. We embrace our differences and commonalities with love, curiosity, and respect. All right, that was a mouthful, but I'm going to unpack it a little bit. You might have noticed some familiar words in there, the part about the free and responsible search for truth and meaning. Does that sound familiar? That's pretty much a restatement of our existing fourth principle of Unitarian Universalism. But what I think is cool about this shift is that it is actually filed under the blanket or the category of pluralism. Because traditionally, I think a lot of UUs have seen our fourth principle, the free and responsible search for truth and meaning, as kind of an individual thing. My search, I'm searching. But there's nothing wrong with that, that's good. But yeah, I like what happens when you put the fourth principle with pluralism. Suddenly, the free and responsible search for truth and meaning is not just an individual pursuit, it's a communal activity. It explicitly states that we learn from one another on our personal searches. We are no longer just people with individual beliefs. We are people whose beliefs are always in conversation, always with room to learn and grow. But the most important thing I believe this description of pluralism tells us is that differences are good. They're to be celebrated, to be a source of learning and growth, to be embraced, not feared or minimized or ignored. Just like the sandwiches in the story, right? Do not fear or minimize or ignore the sandwich, the unfamiliar sandwich. And importantly, we don't have to be alike to actually belong. We do not have to be alike to belong. As UUs, we're pretty used to the idea of differences in beliefs in our congregations, although there is still always room for improvement. Someday you might want to see a humanist arm wrestling a pagan, see how it turns out. But honestly, the humanist and the pagan have a lot more in common than you would ever imagine. That's why being in conversation is important. So as UUs, we're better at the theology part, the diverse theology. But it's other areas we kind of get stuck in conformity. Maybe instead of expecting our people to be a certain type, the UU type, we've somewhat accurately and sarcastically been described as a certain segment of the NPR listening audience, right? Funny, but a little truth to it. How about if we abolish the whole idea of what a typical UU is and celebrate all the differences instead of being a segment of a radio listening population? What if we blow up the idea of who a typical UU is or what they're like? Because there really is more than one way of being, one way of acting, and one way of doing as a Unitarian Universalist. And we need to live into that. Our UU faith tradition is so good, so life-affirming, so love-affirming, so humanity-affirming, so liberating. We cannot let our traditional white upper-middle-class brainiac culture get in the way of our life-saving message any longer. The message that you are worthy, that you are loved, that you matter, that you belong, whoever you are. You belong whether you're a wanderer, a worshiper, or a lover of leaving. Speaking of our opening hymn, there's an unpublished verse to that Rumi poem. That unpublished verse says, even if you've broken your vow 1,000 times, come yet again come. So even if you've messed up lots, made serious mistakes, or hurt people, as we all have, you still belong. You're still welcome on the ride. But most simply, pluralism to me is the idea that everyone belongs. And that's an everyone, with every single letter capitalized, underlined 3 times, and with at least 3 exclamation points after it in case I'm not being clear. And that's not just because I say so, it's because inherently we already do. We all already do belong to one another. It's just something that humanity, that our culture has forgotten or failed to realize in the first place. Now, there's a great book called You Belong, written by an author named Sebene Selassie. And she's a self-described nerdy black immigrant tomboy Buddhist weirdo. That's how she describes herself. And what's not to like about that? So I think she might have some insight about the idea of belonging with all of those interesting identities. Her premise is that we belong to everything. And that's not even a choice because it's just how things are. That belonging is our true nature. You can say that belonging is our original factory setting. But unfortunately, we are conditioned to forget all about this belonging. We often feel ourselves like we don't belong. But that's a feeling. It's not a truth. Belonging is a truth and the fundamental nature of reality, whether we feel it or not. But, we've been trained against the feeling of our inherent belonging. And again, we often equate differences with not belonging, whether it's difference in race, gender, class, sexual orientation, ability, religion, ethnicity, culture, size, politics, profession, lifestyle. All these differences can become false barriers to our sense of belonging. So there's a paradox going on here. We are not one, we are individuals, but yet we're not separate either. And although we're not separate, we are not the same. So we have to acknowledge that although we are different, we're still all connected. Therefore, we all belong. We are irrevocably interconnected and belong to each other. We know that we are all interconnected. It's one of our big values. But our lived experience often tells us there are differences between people, and there are. Denying either our interconnection or our differences leads us to those feelings of not belonging. So our collective freedom depends on us remembering that everyone, no exceptions, belongs to everything. And more, science is recognizing a fundamental unity to everything. And I'm not going to even begin to go into that at 5 minutes to noon. But if we're not structurally separate from anything, don't we all inherently belong? Our feelings of not belonging, they come from many places. They come from our overly reactive minds. We create negative thought patterns that perpetuate feelings of not belonging, these feelings of separation. Our world, our culture has given us a whole bunch of conditioned beliefs that make us forget our inherent belonging. Human thinking that is separative rather than unitive has gone on for thousands of years in dominant cultures and has led us to some pretty awful places. Environmental decimation, the colonization and oppression of so many peoples, the destruction of many cultures. Sebene Selassie says, "It makes perfect sense we have a planetary crisis that impacts people unequally. We should not be surprised, even if we are heartbroken." And many of us are surprised because we haven't been paying attention. We've been trapped in our collective and individual crises of not belonging, not recognizing the answer is belonging to it all. Our challenge is to navigate it all together. And that's the end quote. So it's really hard to reverse the separative thinking that's so destructive, especially when there are forces out there intentionally working to increase this sense of separation between people. Dividing and conquering, breeding misinformation and mistrust, denying of obvious truths, pseudoscience, conspiracy theories, making it nearly impossible for people to share a single reality regarding our world and our existence in it, even when the stakes are really high, when our planet is actually suffering the consequences. So separation is really a delusion, and that delusion is killing us and the planet we inhabit. Separation also begets domination. If we feel separate from someone because we disagree with them or feel like we don't like them, there's a lack of care or connection to them. We start to believe that we are right, we are superior, and then we dominate. You all know how acts of domination and superiority play out among individuals, and you know how that feels, right? To feel dominated or be made out to be less superior. Not a good feeling. But this plays out on a much larger scale, as I'm sure you realize. Hitler's Germany comes to mind. Rising fascism and supremacist groups come to mind. The feeling of separation allows us, practically invites us to do bad things to each other. We've been programmed by this culture of separation that we live in, and we have to continually remind ourselves that we are thinking the thoughts of a culture that has some real serious problems. By living into our belonging, that true deep knowing of our interconnectedness, we can consciously create the world we live in together. We can connect to ourselves, each other, and everything. So today, I invite you to think about how you may grow and deepen your awareness of belonging, which is really the start to nailing that pluralism pedal. If you understand belonging within yourself, you'll begin to feel the belonging of others. A deep sense of the belonging of all can help us navigate our lives more gracefully, because we know inherently that we are never alone, that our journey is accompanied by so many other humans along the way. When you belong, which we all do, you are never going it alone. And to belong is also to acknowledge injustice, to come to terms with some of our absolutely horrific histories, and to face our own shadows. I also ask you today what this kind of belonging, this lifting up of pluralism means for our congregation, for our community and beyond. We all belong, we're all in this together. So together, let's resist the forces that demand separation and reclaim our connections and belonging to one another and everything. It's through our embracing of our belonging that we may live our pluralistic values out loud. May it be so, and blessed be. I think because of our time, I'm going to suggest that we skip the closing hymn. Would anybody be terribly upset by that? All right, let's move on to our extinguishing.
So please join me by saying the words that are written in your order of service for extinguishing the chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of faith, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Before I share our closing words, I'd just like to remind everyone there is no coffee hour in the fellowship hall. We will have water and some refreshments in the narthex. This is water service only, just like you get on a short flight. And then ask that everyone come back by 12:15 to start the meeting. Our closing words are from Teresa Youngblood. May you be invited to the party. May you be asked to dance. May you be amazed to learn that your own precious heart already knows and leaps to the song. And in this moment, whirling in the expansive affirmation of all creation, an embodiment of the divine's boundless love, may you turn and face the door, arms outstretched to sing in wide welcome the ever-changing song of togetherness to those who have yet to discover that they too belong here. Dear ones, go in peace, return in 15 minutes, and blessed be.